My name is Lauren Malone, and this is my transmediation project for the online and blended learning. I wanted to start off just talking about kind of the history of online learning because it has changed over the years. I didn't know this, but online learning actually began in the late 1900s. And what I learned was back then, students were shipped their um, materials that they needed for their coursework, and then they completed it and then shipped it back. But the same issues and struggles that happened back then happen more today as well. So, like isolation caused more anxiety, which in turn caused more dropouts. One quote from the book that I thought was really stand out was when it says commonly cited reasons for enrolling in web-based learning include flexibility of learning across time, distance, and space. Another factor typically mentioned is an opportunity for empowerment and autonomy with the wide array of learning options and choices at one's fingertips. So I know for me personally, online learning was just easier because I am a mom of two with one on the way, and things are always super busy around here. And so being able to just get online and complete it when I have the time is definitely a big plus. Um, in turn, talking about online learning, we have to talk about retention and attrition. So, retention is when the students are sticking with it and following through with their courses, and opposite of that is the attrition, where it's the students dropping out. The completion of online learning is concerning over the years. So, coming up with new innovative ways to teach things is a good way to kind of keep those students engaged. But the attrition rate is still higher. Um, Students have different demographics in their experiences and social interaction, just many different things affect a student's motivation to continue on in their online education career. And there's some different theories that have been developed to help with student motivation. Motivating your students is a key element in their success. If they're not in it, they're not going to finish it. Kind of like in a baseball game, if you're not motivated to go all the way to home base and complete that home run, they're not going to do it. Um, Online courses have to have motivation in mind in order to raise that retention rate of the online students. So there's four different learning theories that were stated in our book. And the first one was behaviorism. So learners being motivated through carrots and sticks. In other words, rewards and punishments. So this is a very basic, like way back to when they did the animal testing, where if they heard the sound of a bell, like the dog would salivate because it thought it was getting a treat. So using behaviorism, it's more like manipulation of the learner. So having positive reinforcements for things that they're doing right, or negative punishments for the things that they need to stray away from. So using the rewards or feedback and encouragement from instructors could be a way to motivate students to complete their online learning. The next theory was talking about cognitivism. So, using their goals and their beliefs and focusing on how the mind processes things is one theory of how to keep them motivated. And there were different theories and principles underneath cognitivism. So, using the attribution theory, learners would be able to connect their achievements to their own ability, what they know that they can do or what they show that they can do. Self efficacy, when learners would use their own judgment on whether they can actually perform the task and get it done. Um, the next one was goal orientation theory. So using their own motivation, their own motives to reach their success. And the last one was self-determination theory, where learners are either motivated through their interest or what they enjoy, or through rewards or their grades, how well their grades are. And a couple principles they stated along with cognitivism was autonomy, so being able to take charge of their own learning and using their own interests, their intrinsic motivation to be successful, or the curiosity principle, where they get motivated by their challenges and their surprises that they learn through education. The third theory for motivation is constructivism. So, motivation through active and social construction of meaning. So, this is based off of problems and problem solving and using real world situations for students to really get hands on and dig into that learning. And many constructivists have to teach these active learning skills and principles in order for their learners to be guided through their instruction. One principle would be the tension principle, and that's where your students are motivated through different conflict and using some disequilibrium within the atmosphere of the room and challenges to motivate them to be successful. The next one is the variety principle, where motivation is increased through different means of curiosity and engagement, where they have different varieties of learning to dig into. And then the last one is the setting the tone or climate principle. So motivation would be increased through the safe and respected learning environment. And the last learning theory was sociocultural views, where learners are motivated through the considerations of their cultures. And this is a big one. I think this is where most of online learning is headed. I don't know exactly if we're there yet, but I hope so. Social interaction is like the big banner that needs to be stressed across every educator that there ever was. You should always want to interact and have tasks and instruction that is relevant for students today, and respect their diversity among the classroom. Like, all of these principles stated in this one is key to having your students motivated, because it's all personal. I feel like every single part of social cultural views and motivation is going to be different for each student, and that's how it should always be, because we're not always the same. So the interaction principle under this theory is interacting with others. Social interaction is the first thing we start teaching students in school, pre-K students. I have a pre-K student, and that's all they do is social interaction every day. That doesn't just stop when we become adults. That's key in motivating people to want to do anything, wanting to go to a football game so you can interact with your peers, or wanting to go to church. So why would it be different for the classroom? I think interaction has such a big role in motivation, and that's probably why a lot of online courses are not being completed, because there's not a lot of interaction between colleagues and peers and co-workers through those online learnings. The relevancy principle, um, just increasing your instruction and what you're teaching to be relevant to today's world. We hear all of the time, I'm not going to use this when I get older. What am I going to do with this when I get older? It's all throughout school. So why would it be any different now that we're doing master's degrees and things like that? All of your tasks should be relevant to what your students are going through at the time. And then tone and climate and variety. So cultural views should be respected and recognized amongst all of your learners. Make them feel seen, make them feel loved, and you'll see a complete difference. I really enjoyed reading about all of these theories. It's something that is very obvious, but I don't think that it's talked about enough. It's one of those things like, oh yeah, I know that. And you just kind of brush it to the side because you are taught it your whole life. But I really enjoyed reading this and being able to talk about this because it's something that I feel really strongly about. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.